Switch. Great. You need to switch.
Oh no, yeah, can you guys switch? Sorry, just so that you're... All right.
Hi everyone. So we're ready for panel. We're ready for panel number 2. How AR is changing the way we interact with fashion and art. And I will leave it to James Joseph, who's the moderator for this panel.
Hey everybody. Welcome. Thanks for coming. Oh, there we go. We're on live. We're live now. It's all good. So happy to share the stage with some absolute pioneers today. So I'm really excited to get into the conversation. I mean, AR has come a long way over the last 5 years, and I just feel like I really want to jump in to get in depth. So, I mean, my favorite thing about AR really, I mean, especially what we do at Cyber and things, is the fact that you can just completely break the laws of physics, right? So whether it's digital fashion, whether it's art, we're all defined by the laws that define our universe, but in AR, we can do anything we want. And I'd love to start by that, and obviously to Auroboros and XI. And I think, I mean, the thing, I can go to XI first, I think, because you created like a centaur unicorn as a digital fashion piece, which I think is the coolest thing ever. It's like 3D, like you would basically become a centaur. I just kind of wanted to know like the thought behind that, and you really like breaking any kind of barrier or with that piece.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, James. So hi, everyone. I'm Ziqi Xing from Xtended. So we're a London-based digital fashion brand. And what we're mainly doing are like, we want to kind of like deliver a fantasy land to our audience. So we want to create like garments like doesn't exist, garments like against the gravity, against the time, and against the space. So we're in like Web3, we're in digital world. Why don't we design like something doesn't exist in the world? So by doing that, we create something like the unicorn, and you can find like elements like like space, gravity in our design, and you can find like we design like dress floating in the air, dress that doesn't exist. So, and I also want to like say a huge shout out to our like main audience, which is LGBTQ community people. So in the first, like we post like our design on social media, and they find us first because they find it's fascinating to wear our digital garments. And then like we find it's always they have like the strongest energy to express themselves like drag queens. They always want to express their identity through fashion and also digital fashion and AR. So that's what we are aiming for. Like we want to create digital fashion and AR to drag queens and LGBTQ community to help them to extend themselves. So refer back to our brand, the name of our brand is Extended Identity. So we want to kind of like extend everyone's identity through like digital fashion and AR in that way. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I think Paula as well, I mean, you know, I've heard you, especially on the Netflix documentary that you've been part of, like talking about how some of your pieces are inspired by jellyfish, and yeah, it's true, and also your aesthetic is so just out there, and I love it so much. I mean, you must have a very similar idea about the whole physics breaking situation.
Definitely. Hello, everyone. I'm Paula Sello. I'm from Auroboros. I'm the co-founder and creative director, also representing for Elisa today, who unfortunately couldn't come. So spiritually, she will be speaking through me as well. So Auroboros began in London as well. We opened the brand last year in 2021. Where we became the first brand in the world to actually showcase a digital collection at any international fashion week, of course, London Fashion Week, where we showcased the very collection you're speaking of called Biomimicry. So Biomimicry was really, for us, a very important momentum and reflection on how we felt during the period of time and in the lockdown, and also how, you know, technology had inspired us when we were kids. So it's really about fusing nature and technology together. When we thought of the first principles of technology, we always thought of it as a utopian way of moving into the future. You know, rather than this dystopian, like Black Mirror technological vision that we've been presented to us, you know, and also with all of the social medias and all of this like very negative news constantly coming out. So we really wanted to create a collection that was very beautiful, that was very light, that was very fluid, that was felt visceral, but also visceral in a way with materials that you couldn't physically wear, right? I mean, what is the purpose of having a digital medium when you're not going to elevate the materials and the look and the feel of those pieces, right? Why would I want to wear a jumper in the digital world? It makes absolutely no sense. And so really for us, it's about elevating, uplifting, and finding a utopian language through design and through where these pieces can engage with through AR and so on. But we'll delve into that a little bit later.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Enara, obviously, you've probably got a lot to say about this from Hype, but you also have been creating a new digital wardrobe kind of company, and I'm sure you've got a lot to say about this from that aspect as well.
Yeah, I mean, AR is I started my career in AR, VR, and I think there was always this bet of like, which one is it going to be? Is it going to be VR that's going to start this revolution? Is it going to be AR? And we noticed that everything follows friction. If there's friction to use any solution, that's what kind of slows down the actual adoption cycle. So because Apple won over the consumer market and gave us devices in our hands that were rapidly improving so quickly, it gave us actually a tool to now use something for AR. So I don't know if AR actually would have been the leading tool then. If you look at development of AR Kit, if you are a developer here who's actually on the building side, you also know they released the tools way before their hardware was ever ready. So I think that's actually kind of key of what it means to work in the immersive ecosystem, is that you have to start with what's available and then start to build out from there. Part of the reason why AR was adopted by makeup companies first is that's because that's where tracking was. It was really difficult, still is very difficult to read joints and do full body tracking. I mean, Snapchat acquired some of the best companies in the world, and they're still trying to give us a solution that's going to be really good out of the box. It gave you guys tools to also showcase your designs, because it is one thing to conceive an asset, and it's the other thing to make a wearable, which is definitely a thing we're all trying to crack. My work started off designing AR posters, so I was just trying to think of like, okay, we're working with major festivals, everything is really beautiful and colorful, but it's very static. So how can you take something that's very familiar and that we know of and add a little bit extra to it? And I think that's a really great place to start, because just like you said, our virtual lives are nothing like our physical lives. And why should our clothes be anything like our physical clothes there at all?
Thanks. And I think actually it makes me skip forwards a bit, because you were talking about AR Kit and Snap. I mean, what I find really interesting right now is the tech has come very quickly forward in the past 6 to 8 months. We had Spark AR had their certain elements, and then Snap were there, and then suddenly body occlusion came out very quickly to allow digital fashion and AR to be more prominent. Now, obviously, I think a lot of people stick to the Spark AR, Instagram, or Snap at the moment to build the AR. But it seems to me that Apple could just crush the entire market, because they've got AR Kit and they were buying the best AR companies in the world 5 years ago. I remember I was at Garage Magazine. We had to completely shut down our app and rebuild it because they just acquired Mateo. And I think as soon as we have AR native in your phone camera, surely it's game changing. Surely the whole world changes, because you just point your camera at anything, whether it's an image marker, etc., and it just works. I mean, what do you three think about how Apple could just completely make this native for the whole world?
I mean, I hope they do. I think they already kind of have, because Apple is, to this day, and competition is great, but right now they're the best hardware maker in the world. So if they provide you with an ecosystem that gives you spatial audio, and it gives you AR Kit, which is super robust, and it gives you also an ecosystem that's talking to your phone and your Apple Watch, that's what you need to provide an experience. So I think at the end of the day, the thing that we're looking at is what gives us the best customer experience. Apple right now just happens to be leading this conversation. I think there's a lot of people trying to challenge them, which is really good. I think market competition is very healthy, but I think it might be game over if people don't challenge them quick enough.
But do we think this is 6 months away? Do we think it's 2 years
away?
Well,
if you look at the patents, they've already showed the product to the board. It can be as early as January. So get ready.
Okay. Are you guys, in your creation and in the way that you build your current AR for fashion, etc., are you guys thinking about this down the line? Are you preparing for a moment where Apple glasses might launch and suddenly you can pour everything into that? Or are you building with the technology that you currently have?
No, definitely. I mean, it's been there, especially with us from the get-go. So I mean, I think we were one of the first brands also to actually launch a full body filter dress. which definitely was very exciting and beautiful, but very laggy now looking back on it. And that was only last year. So even since then, the tech has improved so fundamentally, it's insane. And also the engagement at that point in time was really interesting. I mean, within 2 days of us launching this, which we did together with IDF around London, we had 2.5 million people actually engaging with that filter, right? But obviously, if we now have a hardware piece like glasses, I mean, that engagement is also going to be on such a fundamentally different scale. So yeah, definitely. We are looking at it, and it's something that we're always building in natively. We're always looking forward with our fashion, and the tech and thinking about the hardware piece, because that's where obviously really comes to life, right? That's where you have the more of the visceral approach to it. That's when really obviously it becomes atmospherical as well, not just about the body itself.
Can you imagine getting 2 million people into a storefront to see your launch? That's insane.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, it's too much. let's keep it digital. Love you all, but
Did you want to add anything?
Yeah, for sure. That's definitely. I think we're living the era that's living the Apple ecosystem. Like we have iPhone, iPad, and iWatch and the laptop for sure. So I think like the lens, like for AR, is not only limited to like iPhone, the camera, and also cameras and laptop. We also can do like contact lenses, right? So it's like more contactless and more it's convenient and more makes sense. So imagine like we're sitting here, like in the real life, and I see you in the unicorns through my lens. It would be fascinating. And we always like preparing like and design things, design AR filters for in preparing for the future in terms of when the hardware comes to life, right? And also I think it's fascinating always combining like the AR filters with physical design. So it's what we call like phygital design. So for instance, like we did a phygital collaboration with a Canadian-based platform Epson in 2020, and also we did a recent collab with Meta named the Queens of the Metaverse, which is a drag queen AR fashion show, which like we designed like the matching AR filters to match the physical garments they are wearing, and which to create the total look during the fashion show.
Amazing. And I think actually going from that into two things that you guys do really strongly, which is phygital products. So at Cyber, we focus on phygital as our big thing. Magazine that is AR enabled, and our fashion aspects that we're going to be pushing into that. And I feel like you two have both done really interesting things. Right? I'll start with Auroboros, where you created an outfit which was specifically for wearing digital fashion, because it's such a problem, right? When you have bulky clothes and it's difficult. And it would be good to hear about that and why you created that, I think, first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, first, of course, because again, AR was such a problem, we were, of course, selling our clothes in the now seen as traditional way of wearing digital garments, which is where you, send an image of yourself and then we dress you. And of course, people would send, a huge puffer jacket and then expect to wear, a skimpy little dress or something, which doesn't make any sense. But anyway, so, of course we thought, okay, well, how can we make this, how can we solve this issue in a way that's really exciting to people and that's still sustainable, right? And so we were creating basically on-demand pieces that we also released with our London Fashion Week show, little bralettes and tops, unisex, that could be worn for people underneath their digital garments. And again, beautiful design, very digital looking, had elements of the digital collection within the print. And, there you go. Even for the AR piece as well at the time. Because, of course, you need to think about AR or any digital garment in the form of physics, because even within these programs, you're still creating for physics, which is kind of the biggest irony of all. If anyone works here with digital programs, you'll know how annoying and great this issue is at the same time. So yeah, and I mean, for us, we actually like to use the term magic realism as well, right? Because that's when this beauty comes to life, and giving people a nice base layer to feel comfortable in, and then understand, okay, this is how your garment is worn on top. It's an element of both education as well as obviously consumer ease. And again, looking back at what you were saying about friction, you know, the less friction, the better. So.
And then XI, Extended Identity, you have gone about creating physical pieces which then are enhanced by AR, which I really like the idea of, because you kind of, instead of trying to replicate or replace something you're wearing, you're just building on top of it. But it'd be great to hear about a few of those pieces.
Yeah, of course. Like I just mentioned, like we did a digital collection with Meta, so which is like we enhance like the physical garments with AR filters on behind it. So which you can find like the AR filter actually either the color or the pattern or the prints match with the physical fashion. So you can have actually a total look, like combined AR filters and physical fashion. So imagine like, because eventually we have to wear something, right? Either to keep our warm or to be legal, and but we're not enough of this. We need some kind of fantasy. So how do I do that? So we add like AI filters to our physical garments. Imagine like I'm wearing the boring like black leather jacket, and I have a like fascinating silver like butterfly wings behind me. It's gonna be fascinating. It's like the add-on value. It's like we extended your identity from the reality world to the digital world for sure. And like people are more willing to interact with the AR filters, and it gives it more possibilities and accessibility.
Yeah, thank you. I think moving to art more, we've obviously got two amazing fashion producers here, so that's why I focused on fashion a bit more. But I think, Enara, if I turn to you and your research at Hype Partners, I mean, to me, there's a few artists who are leading the field with AR that I can think of. But in terms of who do you think is leading the art world with AR, and is AR, like the art world ready for that shift?
So I'll start a little bit differently to answer your question. So two things that both of you noted I think is really important. You mentioned how we're leading a digital life. So a lot of the things that you were imagining come from your experience as somebody who grew up with the internet. And the idea of extending identity is also because we've been building our social profiles for the duration of our entire lives. So we've been extending our identity and putting aspects of it online for as long as we've been alive. So for us, digital fashion feels like the next step. For the fashion industry, it feels like something really crazy. They're like, you're trying to digitize the entire industry that is based on physical clothes and physical assets. So the art world comes from this perspective of experimentation. They want to try stuff, and they're usually the first ones going, found a new tool, let's see if this sticks. And they'll be the first ones to test the limits, which is really helpful to technologists because they can see, wow, did not think of these applications before, and this artist is showing us a new way of doing it. So I really like paying attention to who is actually attracted to the industry. A lot of the people that work in digital fashion are, first of all, women, which is, I don't think, reflective of the fashion industry at large. It's also very attractive to technologists who were never fashion designers before. They were either gamers or they liked sci-fi or fantasy. They just like the concept of wearing virtual clothes, which fundamentally changes who is even participating in this ecosystem and who is starting to express their views for what they want, which is a very nice clash to observe when you look at the fashion industry absorbing these views and kind of trying to make sense of them. The person that I'll highlight, who is a personal friend but also a colleague who I think has just incrementally zigzagged through the ecosystem that was VR and AR and created experiences around the field. As soon as something new would come out, he'd incorporate it. So his name is Asad J. Malik. He's been working on a company called OneRick. That company is now closed, but you can look up some of his pieces called A Jester's Tale or Terminal 3, which were pushing the limits of what kinetics could give you, like those point cloud videos that allow you to capture your body and to tell stories and narratives through AR, which is very difficult. You have to take into consideration your physical environment, the story you want to tell, how they interact with each other. I think it's much harder than VR, where you just teleport somebody to a different world. So his work now evolved to incorporate AR, VR tracking for avatars and incorporated with Web3 gameplay. So they're working with Michael Bay, who's brought to life Transformers, and are trying to think of what is the best way to pay attention to the Web3 culture of bringing to life game-like characters and giving them the tools through AR to play with them, which I don't think any company is doing that right now. So if you're into looking into technical complexities, he's your guy.
It's really interesting. And I think you just kind of touched on it as well, but I think going to next is just interactivity with AR and how we can and build that. I mean, I feel like it's interesting because if you think about all media types, they've always been push media, right? So TV, radio is push media. Social media was supposed to be push-pull. Like, it was the first one where you could interact, push-pull. All of you that post a reel and then don't do anything, actually comment on anyone, you're just creating push media still. That's why it's not getting traction, right? You need to interact with your followers. You need to interact with your community. But I think AR is kind of going a similar way, in a way that it is interactive to an element. But I mean, we just put a big 30-foot version of our cover on the side of a building on Thursday night. But in a way, it's kind of push, right? You get your camera and you can look at it, but you can't really do anything with it. I mean, where can we go with interactivity? I'd love to see more interactivity in AR. Are you creating anything in that area, or do you think we can see more of that coming forwards?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this has been on our minds from the get-go, right? Because, I mean, when you experience fashion, obviously you experience it on your own body, but a lot of the purpose of, people dressing up is also to receive attention at the end of the day, but also see what other people are wearing, right? It's a mutual experience, and it's also the first way in which we engage with each other, is the way, what we're wearing, the colors, the psychology around this. So definitely AR cannot just be a singular performative experience of where you're looking at yourself and you're, whatever, dressing up, but it's also about how can I engage with another person, maybe yourself in the audience right now, right? Where maybe in future we're looking through AR glasses and I can see what you're wearing through AR, and there's a form of engagement that we're having, right? And so this is when it gets really exciting. Again, I mean, we started experimenting this within the early days, where not just one person could wear an AR filter through our filters, but two people on the same screen could wear that garment. So it was a shared experience. So what we would see then from the content we'd receive back from people, and that they were posting, instead of just one person, like whatever, dancing, you'd get people engaging with each other, going, oh my god, hey, look at you're wearing the same as me, whatever, but it's again, it elevates also the joy that people have with this. I really think that it's very, very important for people to enjoy these experiences and have fun with it. I mean, think about Pokemon Go. I think that was the biggest AR social experience that people were having so much fun with. And people were talking about, hey, I lost so much weight because I was going out. Like, there were actual, tangible, positive effects for this. Great, like, let's do that. And this is, again, another thing that we really wanted to do with the brand, is actually bring joy to people. Like, I'm sorry, but no one needs another fashion brand. No one, you don't need more fashion. What we need is something to uplift us, to bring something into our lives that uplifts and adds positivity, or even if it is you going out and losing some weight so you're filming whatever the garment in your favorite environment. We do challenges with it as well. So it's thinking more about immersiveness, again, magic realism, a 360 experience, a shared experience.
A little bit of trivia on Pokemon Go. I would highly encourage you to actually look into the statistics. I don't think they published their 2022 numbers, but they make about 1.2 billion off of the app still. So I know the app launched in 2016. They have more than half a billion people downloading it, so 534 something million. And people are still interacting with Niantic in real life events. So if you're looking at AR as a concept, this is not fashion related, but they nailed it because it is completely entrenched in narrative. Pokemon is not just a game, it is a narrative that people are just like really into, and it's incredibly social. So interactivity comes very naturally to that solution. AR is great. It's not the best possible AR. They don't even need to innovate around it so frequently because it works. So if you're looking for a case study, definitely look at Pokemon Go.
Yeah, just to add to that as well, I think that's really beautiful, is storytelling and narrative. Definitely. I think when you look at any of the best brands in fashion history, we can obviously dispute on what your favorite brand is, but looking at the classical ones, whether it's McQueen, it's now Balenciaga, there's a storytelling piece there and a narrative piece that people really enjoy, because that it's leading you on a path, and you're also able to escape into this parallel world that they're building for you, and they're making you feel something. And again, AR is such a strong tool to take you on that journey, to really bring you somewhere else. So it's a very exciting one as well. Let's see what happens with it.
Yes, continue on the Pokemon Go topic. So when you go into the app, you can see there's a selection. You can either select AR or it's like VR. So I think it's more, I find it more personal when I go to AR. So you can actually, when I go maybe in front of the museum, I can place my Pokemon in front of that instead of a virtual reality environment. So it's more engaging and more interactive. And I think it's also more fascinating about when you see something you play that can grow. So, for example, from our collection level, we have one look that transfer from a human to a 2 feet beats and to the unicorn. So that's 3 stage for the design. So it's something that you can play and it can grow and it make you more engaged and it make you to feel satisfied and about the AR and the digital fashion you are engaged with. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, to me, I've always said, and I know that side was very focused on AR, but AR, we're enhancing reality, whereas VR, you're replacing reality. And that's just why AR, in my opinion, will win over everything. Absolutely. So we're close on time. So my final question is, I know we've got a very high caliber room here anyway, but if any designers or artists that are excited about AR but haven't got involved yet, what would your tips or what would you share to kind of get building?
Well, anything you want to know and anything you would have been better off knowing nothing about is on the internet. So I think we've all have the practice of Googling, and there's a really famous quote in the tech world where people interview somebody for a software engineering job, and if they're really good at Googling, hire that person because they're the ones that are going to be able to figure out a problem, any problem you throw at them, because they're very resourceful. So there's a really interesting thing that's happening right now. If you're looking at linear careers, let's say lawyers or doctors, there's a process you have to follow because that's just the way it is. You have to become better at that particular linear career. But right now, companies are having a harder time attracting younger people because there's so many options. You can make 50, 70K easy on the internet with a completely free lifestyle, and working at a company is actually not that cool unless the offering that you're being given is quite, you didn't have to work at some maison in order to earn the right to launch your collection. You could just do it whenever you wanted to, and that's very, very powerful and also very new. So get Googling, poke around the internet, find the thing that really attracts you, and I promise you, following a hashtag down the rabbit hole will lead you to either a person, a resource, a school. I've built 3 schools now, and I'm currently managing director of Third Academy, so if you're into Web3, that's also a resource. But one thing I'm noticing among students is that there's no more gender balance that needs to happen. There's equal amount of men and women that are reaching out to take a course, equal amount of people expressing interest. So as long as you empower people to do the thing that they're curious about, I don't think we would have these problems of women don't want to be in tech. It's before it was just really, really hard, and now it's gotten easier.
We've got 3 women, 1 guy.
Right?
It's
See?
great. I love it.
Yeah, definitely, I second that. I mean, it's something that's really important to us. We've kind of actually slipped into education from the get-go. We left university and we were back at university lecturing. I don't really know how that happened so quickly, but it did. So, and on a day-to-day basis, we actually get messages from students all the time, bombarded, on my personal one as well. I really appreciate it. Please keep it to the public one. But, we listened to all of these messages and we just saw that there is such a lack of just educational resources in classical institutions where these students are coming from and messaging us, and I think on the previous panel, someone was saying that, there's the one of, the kind of the odd few students who really are super eager to get into digital, whether it's AR or through any other medium. Even just rendering out tester pieces of your garments is really great as a student, as a resource, right? To save money, obviously experiment and everything as well. So we're in the process now of launching an academy, the Auroboros Academy, which is going to be a small section of our Discord. We launched it, very soft launch, together with Parsons 2 weeks ago. to really start welcoming students in from all over the world, and also provide students a network where they can find each other. And it's really not so much about the brand as it is us helping build a community of students who have these tools, resources they can share, and sometimes even just some supportive messages, because it is scary getting into digital. I came from physical, more couture fashion background, and getting into digital was scary at first as well. And then it becomes really fun over a while. You experiment and so on. So Google, join us. But there is a lot of resources out there, and I think the best thing to do is just to test and fail as well. Do fail. That's how we started our brand. We failed a lot, and then we got all the positives out of it.
Yes, absolutely. I can relate to Paul for sure, because I come from a background from a physical design degree as well. And my biggest suggestion to people who want to join the digital space would be just do it, because you never know when you do it, and you can learn as you go along. And of course, Google. And we actually a group of self-taught team, and you can find everything on YouTube, and you can just follow the step and get the laptop and software and try it out. Yeah.
Thank you.
The three experts here are all self-taught.
Yeah, I mean, it says a lot. I mean, that's just Web3 all over, isn't it? Well, yeah, I mean, thank you so much for our three panelists. Really appreciate you taking the time to come out, and thank you all for listening. And a shameless plug, but I have some cyber magazines if anyone wants one, so come up to me afterwards. But yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was amazing and so fascinating. We're going to go straight into the next panel, actually, talking about immersive experiences. I just also want to say thank you to Enara, who's rushed here directly from the airport and got here just in time. So thank you again. That was really amazing. And I want to introduce now the next panel.
All the way out. I think I was flashing before.